Welcome back to another SCBWI Featured Illustrator interview. My name is Tamika Grooms, and I'm the Design and Illustration Manager for SCBWI. Every month, we select an Illustrator member to spotlight on the SCBWI website and social media pages to highlight their work in the children's illustration market. This month's featured illustrator is Melissa Gardner. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy that I finally got a chance to interview you. I've been watching your work for a while, and earlier this year, you were the SCBWI reading list artist for the month of April. And I saw your work. I don't know where I learned about it on the SCBWI website. I don't know if you entered a contest or something like that, but when I saw your work, I thought it would be perfect for the theme that we had that month. And I'm happy that I'm actually getting a chance to interview you now.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. So I want to introduce everybody to your work. I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen the illustration that we have that's featured for this month. And one of the things that I really feel is one word that I would describe your artwork with is organic. It doesn't really matter like the subject matter that you're selecting. I think it's really like your approach to your art, as well as the subject matter, as well as the materials that you use, even though I know you do a mix of things, but it feels very organic. And would you describe your work as that as well?
You know, that's funny. I never would have thought of that until you're pointing that out, that I try really, really hard to make my work, I guess, real, on an emotional level, and on a visual level. Yeah.
Would you also describe your work as having themes of social change in general?
Absolutely. Yes. I think my background as a therapist, and I worked with children for many, many years, I think I really want to highlight, real experiences of the people that I care about, and the people that I haven't even met yet.
Yeah. So is there anything that draws you towards those themes specifically, or is there anything that you're passionate about that's kind of moved you in that direction?
I think I've always been really interested in hearing people's stories, and the stories of either the people that I worked with in the past or the things that my kids bring to me, of kind of highlighting who they are as people, and just really wanting um, to center attention on those voices that can't necessarily speak for themselves. I think it's just really, really important to help bring out the voice of people that that maybe aren't being heard in our society, whether it's small children or queer issues, anything like that. It really means a lot to me to highlight those voices.
So I want to talk a little bit about your artwork. I'll thumb through a few of these images. Please feel free to stop me if there's anything you want to, talk about. And I also want to learn a lot about these materials that you're using. So please, let's talk about that. Let's start there.
Yeah. Well, my work is really a mixture of all the things that just interest me at the time. So I do a lot of experimenting. I love to mix acrylic, abstract paintings, I guess you'd say, in with a lot of digital overlays. And so a lot of what you're seeing here is a combination of those two things.
And how did you kind of come about that process? Did you start out, using more traditional materials? How did you start mixing things?
I was always a watercolorist for many, many years, and but just for my personal life, right? And then when I decided to be an illustrator, I realized that I really needed kind of a faster way to edit things. And I was introduced to an iPad and Procreate, so many illustrators use. And I just found that I really couldn't get the texture and the light that I could in my watercolor work digitally. But I was pushing myself to learn how to do that. And then I came up with kind of a hybrid hybrid version. Yeah.
So that really resonates with me because I started out as a watercolor, well, I won't say watercolorist, but I started out learning through drawing and watercolor and acrylic painting. And so those kind of wet medias. And then I moved into more digital drawing. But I agree with you. Sometimes it loses something, but I feel like whatever you found it. Yeah, I really feel like you found it. This piece in particular, I looked at some of the writing, the words that you had on your website about this piece, I think it was, and how I think it said that you did digital portraits and
Mhm.
overlaid it on top of a traditional or acrylic. I might have it wrong, but painted for a photograph of paintings of paint.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, tell us about that.
Yes. So an example, and you'll see it over and over again. The figure is drawn digitally in Procreate, and the background, like you said, is a photograph of an abstract painting that I did.
Mm,
Um, do some altering, obviously, and a lot of layering. And I really try to match the texture that I find in the background in the photograph in whatever I'm laying over on top. And this is
amazing.
a daughter, just at the beginning of the pandemic when we all needed a bit of light, I
Yeah.
think, lives.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of art. And then also your approach to it as well is pretty amazing. Um, I'm gonna just scroll through a few more of these on your website. And I like that you have your different types of art broken up into different sections. So you have your section for your um, editorial work, your experimental things, your Instagram, so that for an art director who might not, who they're coming to your website for art for children, they also have so much other stuff to explore as well. So I hope that those art directors and editors that do come to your page are seeing all of it because you do have a lot to offer.
Thank you.
Hmm. I noticed that you participate in challenges. How have challenges kind of moved your work forward?
I think challenges have been amazingly influential in a surprising way, surprising to me anyway. I really value having a community and thinking together with a community of artists, and kind of all approaching the same topic from a lot of different perspectives. There's nothing more fun for me than something like Folktale Week, right, where you have folk tales that so many people know across the world, and just seeing all of these different interpretations. And so I've found that they've just been seeds for creativity for me. All of these different kinds of challenges, and a lot of my work derives from those interactions.
Mm. Well, I really appreciate seeing multiple pieces of artwork, that shows that you're connecting these dots together. And so it's not just a one-off image that you've done for, because I've done this before. It's not just a one-off image that you've done for a prompt. You've tied them all together over the course of a week or a month or however long it is, but it shows continuity with your artwork as well.
Right. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's important to me.
Mhm. All right. Well, I'm so happy that we got to share this. We'll be giving everybody your contact information for your website at the end of this. I know that you are coming from a background that is not necessarily in children's book illustration. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you decided to make that transition?
Yeah, I think I said this before. I was a psychotherapist in Boston. I had a private practice for many, many years. I worked mostly with adolescents and college students, and art was a big part of of our time together for many of the patients that I worked with. And I was always making things on my own as well, just for personal pleasure and for family, for gifts, things like that. But since I was a teenager, I've just had this in the back of my mind that I was going to illustrate children's books one day. And we had some sad things happen in our family where my father-in-law passed away about, well, it's about 10, sorry, no, about 7 years ago now. And that kind of prompted my partner and I to really look at our lives and think about our goals, and knowing that life is so short. My father-in-law's passing was very sudden and unexpected, and it just kind of brought really front and center that we just have so little time. And that led us to take a sabbatical year from our jobs. My husband was at the university, he was up for sabbatical, and we took advantage of it. And I used that year to really challenge myself to think about what I wanted our lives to look like on the other side of that. And as soon as my kids were old enough and in school, I started. So it's been about 4.5 years now.
Hmm. I think it's really important for us to, recognize that, sometimes you can do this full time, but you don't have to. But when you can, it is a blessing when you can kind of redirect your life into the direction that you want to go. And that looks different for every single person, right? Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
It is. And, my transition, leaving my practice, also transitioned us out of Boston into a much more affordable place. We're living on the West Coast now. We're closer to family, so we have a little bit more support that way. Um, at times, and it's made it a lot more feasible to pursue this.
Hmm. And the other thing too, I definitely want to recognize is that you've been constantly working at your work, and maybe, times where you're not able to go as hard as you might at another time. But I have seen you grow and produce and to, keep working at your work in the time that I've been watching you grow. So it counts for a lot to, to say that when you decide to do something that you're putting that effort forward as well.
Right. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Um, I think again that like little voice in the back of my head saying time is short, use it. It's really propelled me these past few years to find mentors, to learn about the industry, to join SCBWI, to go to conferences and take advantage of things that I think when I was younger, I would have shied away from, thinking, oh, I don't have the experience yet. I need to have some more experience before I jump into those things. And I remember going to my first SCBWI conference a few years ago and being just in complete awe at all that was being offered to people who were completely new to the field, right? And, I'd been to many professional conferences before, but you had to have a title in front of your name, to walk in the door. And this was such a different experience. And I've really taken advantage of learning from others as much as I possibly can, and then trying to put that into practice and make art, just make lots of art.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to really see where you're going in the future. I know that you have an agent, and I suspect that that agent is going to have you very busy based on the quality of your work. So I can't wait to see what you're going to put out into the world and what the children are going to actually get to read in the future too.
I'm so excited too. I can't wait to see all that
Yeah.
grows. So thank you for this chance to talk about it.
So before we go, I want you to share with us your website or any other social medias that we can follow you on, just in case people didn't see it when I put it up on the screen.
Yeah. So my website is my name and it's Melissa Gardner Art. .com, and my social media is Art Gardner on Twitter, and I'd love to connect with people there. I'm probably there most often lately, except when Instagram challenges are going on. and and then I'm Melissa Gardner Art on Instagram, and I'm trying to get a little bit more active there again. I pulled away from it for a while, but I'm trying to show my face there more,
Yeah.
uh, get more art out.
Well, we'll be watching there as well as on your website. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, and we will be seeing you very soon.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.